We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Oscar, I do believe that Ryan Garcia, he should not fight against Devin. The fight, it happened. You seen. Ryan beat him. Oscar de la Hoya says, the Golden Boy himself, he has stated that he's trying to work on a tune-up fight for Ryan and then the biggest fights for Ryan Garcia in a brand new interview. However, let him tell it, Devin Haney would not be on the menu, and there's no purpose for the rematch based on what happened in the first fight. So in a brand new interview with Fight Hub TV, De La Hoya says, quote, "A fighter having a year layoff is never a good thing. So Ryan's comeback fight must be some kind of warm-up fight, a tune-up fight, we call it in boxing. Somebody that is not a world champion. Right now in his division, whether it's 147 pounds or between 140 and 147, there are a lot of great names out there for him. Once Ryan Garcia gets back in action, once Ryan gets back in the rhythm and has a tune-up fight, possibly late April, maybe early May, then I want to throw him in with the very best. That's what Ryan wants to do, challenge himself, fight the best, whether that be Teofimo Lopez or Jaron Boots Ennis or whoever is the best. We still have Devin Haney, who wants the rematch against Ryan Garcia, which I disagree with, but I'll explain. He says we still have Devin Haney who wants the rematch against Ryan. Who knows? Maybe that will happen again, but again, I'll sit down with Ryan and we'll carve out a plan. But he also stated that he doesn't really see the point. He goes on and says, I've never heard of a fighter suing a fighter for battery. We're in the business of battering opponents. So I've never heard that in my entire career as a fighter or a promoter, because he has that duality, because he actually laced him up and now he's actually a promoter. But yeah, that opens up the door. It's a great storyline. It's nonsense, but the only way to square off is inside the ring. Who knows? Maybe we could see another one, or maybe we won't. I think Ryan put on a performance of a lifetime. The way Ryan handled Devin Haney, to me personally, it doesn't call for a rematch, but the back and forth is pretty intense. End quote. So De La Hoya is keeping it all the way solid. He says to him, based on what he's seen, it was clear and cut and dry. Now, I disagree with De La Hoya on these 2 points. One, I actually am for the Haney and Garcia, or it would probably say Garcia Haney this time, Garcia Haney rematch. I want to see it. Reason being I do want to see it is because anytime a fighter has tested positive for any banned substance, knowing, unknowingly, whether you ingested it intentionally or not, it creates an asterisk immediately by that particular performance. You know, just based on the fact that you had something in your system that wasn't allowed, that wasn't authorized, and it wasn't declared. That's the reality of it. So just for that reason alone, and that the fight would sell with all the drama, I want to see it. Again, being realistic, that being said, I don't believe that Osterine in trace amounts or whatever is the sole reason why Devin looked like that. Because I know what I know, and you guys can say whatever. Osterine is not this is not a Marvel movie where you have Captain America and he's 5'4" and he's wimpy, and he goes in some kind of chamber and they inject him with the super soldier serum, and now he come out brolic and he's Chris Evans and he's Captain America, and they just give him a suit and a shield and he can barely, the suit's all tight on him and he could barely fit, in the suit. Like, come on, bro. That's not how a PED like that especially works. That's a SARM. It's the reality of it. So me personally, I do believe, Oscar voice, I do believe that Ryan, he kind of had Devin's number and there were mistakes made. And the mistakes are pretty easy to see. One big mistake is Bill Haney. Bill Haney, the whole press conference, he put a lot of pressure on his boy. He said, fight us in the center of the ring. We gonna off this man. We gonna unalive him. He gonna pay for the trash talk. And Devin himself too. Devin was like, I'm gonna rid the boxing world, get this ussy out of here. Weight don't matter, yada, yada, yada. These Haney words came back to bite them, E40 voice, in a major way. And that's the reality of it. So you really fought the wrong fight. And I believe that early tones in fights are not good. Like Arrow got dropped in the second round, and then it was his worst showing as a pro after that. So I believe in ebb and flow in boxing. Sometimes you just get off to such a rocky start, you dig yourself in enough of a hole, and it just becomes like too much to like overcome, and you're already discouraged, you're embarrassed because you got hurt or dropped. And that's kind of what happened in the fight with Ryan Garcia and Devin. Devin talked all this talk, thought Ryan was going to be washed, thought Ryan was a quitter because Tank did something with him and knocked him out and dropped him. And he was feeling himself from the Regis Prograde performance, et cetera, et cetera. And he gets clipped in the first minute of the first round. And now that just sets a nasty tone because, and I said this on my watch party, sets a nasty tone because Ryan has proved within 40 seconds or whatnot that he can hurt you and you got to approach him a certain way. Then Devin got super aggressive, and then he just throughout the fight kept getting hurt and dropped and things like that. Ref giving him extra time, and it was just nasty. So I personally want to see the rematch between the two. De La Hoya's talking about T.O. or Boots. I'm not really worried about that because T.O. might fight Subriel. That's not a guaranteed win to me. Boots, I don't know what he's doing, but Boots says he wants a unification. The Virgil Ortiz fallout at 54. Then T.O. would be in a similar situation, a 140-pound person moving up, and Boots didn't look like he wanted to fight T.O. So he's going to look really bad if you didn't want to move up, despite saying you might need to move up to 54 after your last fight with Karen Chukadzian. You didn't move up to fight Virgil Ortiz, but then you kind of not really taking the Teofimo offer serious because you don't want to fight a guy moving up, right? Then you don't fight Teofimo because you want a unification, but then you go fight Ryan Garcia. Even though it makes sense because Ryan is a bigger name than Teo, it's just going to still look bad because you're going to look all over the place. I don't want to fight a guy moving up. I'd rather a unification. So then Ryan would be moving up. He's never had any fights at 47. You're going to look hypocritical. So I'm not really worried about those two. Let me know if you guys want to see the Haney rematch. I personally do. Clear the air, show what's what, and that kind of thing. The second point De La Hoya said that I disagree with, he says that he believes Devin wants the rematch. I don't think they want the rematch. I think they are more content lawsuiting and bad-mouthing Ryan and saying, hey, you didn't sign up in VADA in 48 hours, so da-da-da-da, and doing this posturing. The reason I don't think the Haneys truly want the Ryan rematch is because, one, I keep saying this. De La Hoya, you can believe him. He's the former fighter, gold medalist, yada, yada, yada. He's saying Ryan had a performance of a lifetime. Boxing Ego is saying something different. Ryan did good in spots with the Devin Haney fight, and that's what won him the fight. However, Ryan looked like he did not train seriously. He did not look and sound like he was cardioed, from what I seen in the fight. And that's the reality of it. So for me, I thought it was a mid performance, but what pulled Ryan through was not cardio, not a great training camp, sheer natural ability, similar size, similar age, and then his power and speed just showed up, and that was enough to kryptonite Devin Haney's, Superman intentions. That's it. But Ryan looked sharper, looked crispier with Gervonta Davis. Now, he didn't look crispier in terms of he never connected those shots or hurt Gervonta or dropped Gervonta or had no oh-ish moments. I'm not talking about that. But you could still see when a person's valiant effort is there, and it's just you're in there with someone with a different level of skill, different height, and that's the difference maker between the two fights. Tank when he fought Ryan and Devin when he fought Ryan. Not the rehydration clause and stuff like that, because the rehydration clause, you think a heavier Ryan would have been so much faster. You know, some people are like, oh, but he would have been stronger. But being stronger, who cares if you're being stronger when Tank was boxing well and defensively sound and responsible? Then you still weren't, you're still not hitting the target, right? So people who keep bringing up Tank had a rehydration clause, it kind of sounds stupid, because a bigger, heavier Ryan, maybe he's a bit stronger because he's less dehydrated, but that doesn't equal sharper, and the shots still have to land. The biggest thing with the Tank Ryan fight is the shots weren't landing that Ryan needed because Tank was so good, and he was setting traps, which is something else Devin didn't really do. Devin was fighting more off fumes and like heart. Tank was fighting off smarts, and he never had to show heart and all this chin and all this stuff because he wasn't getting touched with nothing like that. He just knew what he was in there with. He knew that Ryan had, you know, this power and speed that he was known for. So he was boxing smartly. I'm the smaller guy, right? I'm the older guy as opposed to Ryan. And I'm about to box his ears off. And when I see my opening, it's over for the man. That's what happened. So me personally, I don't think the Haney's truly want to rematch Ryan, because that would be do or die. Your career hangs in the balance based on what happens there. Because look at Tyson Fury. There's only one Tyson Fury, right? Look at the boy Tyson Fury. He talked all this jazz about Usyk's a middleweight. Yeah, rabbit, your middleweight rabbit, gappy tooth rabbit, right? You did all this theatrics. You said the man was not that good. Said you won the first fight, and then you rematch Usyk. Same outcome, but Usyk does even better. Doesn't really get hurt like he got hurt in the first fight. So it really wasn't the same type of fight. He way outlanded you, and he hurt you again in the second fight. You have no excuses, right? Now that's an extreme example, because Usyk 6'3" or so, 220 or so, fighting a big Tyson Fury who came in 55 pounds heavier. And Tyson Fury, you know, has a crazy reach, and he's much taller, 6'9" or whatever, to Usyk. Devin and Ryan at this current age, 26, 27, whatever they are, their heights aren't going to change. And the height was pretty even. If anything, Ryan is about a half-inch taller than Devin Haney. Ryan's power is not going to go anywhere. Ryan's speed probably won't go anywhere, even if he weighs a little bit more. I don't know what weight this fight would be contested at. So you're still in the same kind of fight. However, the big X factor to me is the fact that Ryan can truly improve like eons from the first fight. I just told you earlier in this video, I don't think Ryan particularly looked sharp in this fight. I don't think he was training. I don't think that was his best training camp. And you ask him, De La Hoya, they said he was on 40%, or he wasn't barely training. He was acting weird, going to the clubs drinking. This is not normal behavior for somebody who has a major fight. We know this. Normally, in the past, guys go to, like, they exile themselves. They go to Big Bear. They isolate. There's nothing to do in Big Bear but sightsee, and it's cold, and, you know, couple shops and cafes and stuff like that, right? That's not a place that's a place you go to like relax or work. You know what I mean? It's not a place that you would go like a big city like LA, or you want to party and stuff. That's just is not that place. So that's what most fighters are doing for their training camps, to lock in. Ryan did the opposite of lock in, and he locked out, and he was drinking, and he running around with groupies and OnlyFans chicks and, you know, Orange Stars and all this type of stuff, drinking. That's not behavior of somebody who's taking it serious. And I've said this before the fight even happened. That's why I told you it was a lose-lose situation. You're going in there with somebody who's acting like a madman, like the Joker. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment. I don't know how I got these scars. My father was a drinker and one night, like you're fighting somebody who has virtually nothing to lose because they're completely liberated and they're doing whatever they want to do, and that he already lost to Tank. You weren't gonna outdo Tank. So for me, a rematch probably is worse because it will likely happen at a higher weight. Ryan's still the A side. I don't care what y'all talking about with Osterine and stuff. He's still the A side. So if a rematch were to happen, Devin wouldn't be able to call the shots against Ryan Garcia. So either the fight doesn't happen. If Devin's like, no, I want this at 140, and Ryan's like, I can't make 140, then guess what? The fight wouldn't happen. So you would have to, again, bow down to Ryan Garcia's demands, fight him where he's comfortable. He'd be the A side. And the higher the weight, the more I think Ryan has the advantage. And like I've been saying throughout this Unpacked video, is Devin didn't really do anything wrong but the game plan. But that's already done, and you can't take that back. Ryan, I think, can improve a whole lot by having a better training camp, getting his cardio up, getting in better shape. Like, Ryan was just doing too much, like, extra for the build-up for Haney. Running and talking to people on IG Live. That's just not how most people are going to train for their big fight, where they're talking ish to trolls and, you know, yelling at people on IG Live while they work out. It's just dumb. Like, you never seen Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime, and then he's arguing with people on IG Live. Obviously, IG Live wasn't out at the time, so I'm being facetious, but I'm saying if Arnold came up in this era and he got to lift weights for this Mr. Olympia show, yeah, what do you do? Are you okay? You know what I mean? You're not gonna see him battling trolls as he preps for fight, or not fight, but a bodybuilding competition. So Ryan just did too much, and I think he could shore that up. That's basically what I'm getting at. Devin, he didn't really do anything wrong. Like, it looked like he trained hard. It looked like he has money, so he has the ability to get great nutrition, great sparring partners, etc. And he still came up mad short against a 40% Ryan or whatever percent he was on. So I disagree with De La Hoya. I do think the rematch is needed for boxing's sake and for the fans' sake to just clear the air. But depending on the particulars, I feel like Devin is in a pickle because he's really not the A side. And for this rematch to actually happen, he's gonna have to agree to really Ryan's terms. So in that regard, De La Hoya might be right. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. Let me know what you think. Who would you favor in a rematch? There are some Haneyacks who believe that, oh, Devin was cheated. That's the only reason, Osterine. So, you know, they're gonna pick and think that Devin will do so much better. But I think Ryan has his number because the Osterine argument is just too much other things to factor in. Like, unless you believe that Ryan was on Osterine in his teens when he didn't have any money, then how do you explain them splitting 6 fights, 3 apiece? Devin got hurt in at least one of those amateur fights, right? They said Devin got hurt in sparring with Ryan Garcia. So he's just been on Osterine his whole life. Like, to me, that doesn't make sense. He wasn't a millionaire when he beat Devin Haney 3 times. So he probably didn't have the same access to things. Ryan said his parents were the coaches to make money and stuff for his tournaments. And, you know, he had to ride the bus and things like that or whatever to get to his tournaments. So he was in the struggle at that point. So again, unless you're of the belief that he was a teenager with no money and he was on Osterine then, you still can't explain away why he ever beat Devin Haney in the amateurs. Like, normally what happens is you got the guy who's a scientific boxer. The person never gets a win. If they're Ryan's style, the person never gets a win over them. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's how it normally works in boxing, where it's like Usyk and Fury. Usyk is the better boxer. Him being smaller and being dynamic and faster than Fury. Fury was able to outbox Wilder. You know, he might be able to outbox a Joshua, things like that. But against a clever, crafty boxer that's a southpaw, who's lighter than you, who's moving better than you, you met your match. You met your kryptonite, right? Because you're fighting someone who also is a intelligent boxer and a thinker, but he's the model that's smaller and faster and sharper. To be honest, I think Usyk has a higher ring IQ, which is why I picked him twice. So I still think the Devin and Ryan fight, there's more than just the Osterine conversation on why Devin Haney lost. I firmly believe that. Because again, usually the masterclass boxer, the ambush style power guy, is not beating them. And if they do, is not beating them in that fashion. Like Floyd Mayweather, he didn't lose to Castillo and then he rematched him and he did better. He didn't lose to Maidana and then he rematched him because of the crowd and what they said, and he did better. You know, so Devin lost 3 times to Ryan Garcia before they were even pros, whereas true masterclass boxers, they get a look at you and they typically get better, right? So to me, I think it should be like 5-1 out of the 6 fights, or 4-6, or 4-2. That makes more sense if you're truly a masterclass boxer, right? That, okay, Ryan might have got 1 or 2 wins off of you out of the 6, but he got the same amount of wins that you got, 3 and 3. I don't know. That sounds a little bit more sketch, and it sounds like he has some good skills or ability or just intangibles to offset what you're doing. Otherwise, it would have been 6 and 0. It would have been 5 and 1, 4 and 2, not 3 and 3. Like, I beat you the same amount of times that you beat me, and then we fought as pros, and initially I beat you again. So you guys could keep talking about the Osterine, but there's more than meets the eye. Call me when it's gangster, man. We unpacked.